Welcome to the Know Your Worth series. You used to know exactly who you were. You had a name for yourself, not just the one people called you, but the one you carried on the inside, the one that told you you were what you were worth, where you belong. And then life changed. And somewhere in the middle of everything you lost that name too. Maybe you are standing in the rubble of a marriage. Maybe your children have grown and left, and the role that defined you for decades is suddenly gone. And we know the emptiness syndrome can be a painful time for most parents. Maybe loss came in and took people with it that you never imagined living without. And now someone asks you who you are, and you hesitate because the honest answer is, I'm not sure anymore. If that is where you are, I need you to stay right there, because this is exactly where your story begins again. There is a woman in scripture who arrived at that exact place, and what I love about her story is that she does not pretend. She does not perform. She does not put on a brave face and tell everyone she's fine. She tells the truth about what loss did to her. And in doing so, she gives every woman who has ever been broken by life permission to be honest about where she really is. And I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Her name is Naomi, and her story begins on a road. Naomi had a full life once. A husband who was kind and caring, a man who loved and served God, a great provider and companion. They had a happy life together. Then famine came, and the family made the difficult decision to leave their hometown of Bethlehem and move to Moab, which is it's normal. You want to go where life is better. So it was a survival move. But sometimes the decisions we make in survival mode set off a chain of events we never anticipated. Her husband died first. She slowly began to come to grips with that loss, and then without warning, both of her sons died in quick succession. The wound of sorrow was torn wide open again. If you're a mother and you've ever lost a son or a child, you know that is a pain that is beyond words. No grandchildren, no provider, no future she could see. Within the space of 10 years, Naomi had lost her entire family. She said it herself, there were no tears left. She was inconsolable. And then came the guilt, the what ifs. Maybe if they had never left Bethlehem, maybe this was God's punishment. You know, we tend to feel that when things go bad, that God must be punishing us. Maybe she had brought this on herself. Self-pity and sadness moved in and took up residence where joy used to live. I want you to stay here for a moment, because some of you know exactly what this feels like. Not just the loss, but what comes after the loss. The guilt, the replaying of decisions, the quiet wondering whether God is punishing you for something. Loss does not take people and things. It takes your sense of self with it. And if you're not careful, it will take your name as well. When Naomi heard that God had visited his people back in Bethlehem, she rose to return home. She took her 2 daughters-in-law with her and then stopped on the road and told them both, go back. Maybe she had a Jesus moment. Go back to your mothers. Go back to your people. Go back to your gods. Find new husband. Build new lives. I have nothing left to give you. Now, I want you to look carefully at what is happening here, because this is the part of Naomi's story that most teachings rush past. Naomi was not being selfless. She was agreeing with her own devaluation. She had become so convinced that her losses had canceled her future that she was actively dismantling the very thing God was positioning to restore her. She didn't know that at that time. Grief has a way of clouding your mind and clouding your thinking, and you make decisions that you shouldn't make. And of course, she was a grieving widow, and her mother had lost her son, so she was still in that state. She looked at herself and saw nothing worth staying for, nothing worth investing in. She had allowed her pain to rename her so completely that she genuinely believed the people around her would be better off without her. Have you ever felt like that? I have. In the depths of despair, I thought, you know what? I'd be better off not here because I'm not doing anybody any good. I'm just here in this mood of suffering and grieving. Life would be better off without me. And here's what I need you to hear. Grief does that to a woman. It does not just break her heart, it blinds her. Naomi was so absorbed in her own sorrow that she could not see beyond her own pain. She could not see what was standing right in front of her. She could not see what God had already placed beside her. Well, of course, Oprah kissed her and left. And there are some people who would leave you. Just get used to that. There's some people, so there's a 50-50 chance that some people would leave you because Ruth stayed. So Ruth held on when Naomi pressed her again. Return after your sister-in-law, Ruth answered with words that have echoed through centuries. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you go, where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. End of story. That's all Ruth said. Naomi recognized, I'm not going to get anywhere with this girl. So she could not stop her. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Just think about it. Grace does not always ask permission. Ruth could have gone back. She had every reason to. She was young, she was free, she had a whole life ahead of her. But she looked at this broken, bitter, grieving woman and refused to leave. And here's a revelation that changed everything for me. Ruth was not just Naomi's comfort, Ruth was Naomi's comeback. But Naomi couldn't see it at that point because she was still on the road, still in the middle of the loss, still introducing herself by her pain. So when she finally arrived in Bethlehem, the whole city was moved. The women asked, "Is this Naomi?" And she answered, "Do not call me Naomi," which means pleasant. "Call me Mara," which means bitter. For the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. You can almost hear the rank in her voice. She renamed herself after her pain. She let her losses write her new identity. And that is what unresolved loss does to a woman. It does not just take things from her, it hands her a new name. And if she's not careful, she will answer to it for the rest of her life. Are you there? But here is what I need you to carry with you today. Naomi's losses did not get the final word. Ruth, this woman, a foreigner, a Moabite, somehow had every reason to walk away, but she put her faith in Jehovah in the time of sorrow, while Naomi, the mature woman of God, was angry and bitter with him. Ruth chose to say, and slowly, not all at once, but dramatically, not dramatically, but slowly, something began to shift. One day it dawned on Naomi how good God had been, how faithful he had been, how she had been so blinded by her sorrow that she had failed to recognize the loving kindness of God extended to her in the person of Ruth. Grace had been there the whole time. She just could not see it. Your losses do not get to name you. Your circumstances do not get to define you. Your pain is real. I will never minimize that. Naomi's grief was valid. Your grief is valid. What you have been through is real. Don't let anybody tell you differently. But real pain and permanent identity are two very different things. Naomi thought she had become Mara, but God never stopped calling her Naomi. He never revised his original declaration over her life. He never looked at her losses and decided she was no longer worth restoring. He never canceled her future because her present looked like ruins. And we tend to do that. We make permanent decisions over temporary situations. And he's not done that to you either. You are not who your losses say you are. You're not the sum of what has been taken from you. You're not the name that pain handed you in your hardest season. You are who God named you, and before any of it happens, and that name has not changed. Naomi's story is not finished, and neither is yours. But every comeback begins with one honest moment. The moment you stop introducing yourself by your pain and start asking God who He says you are. Now, I have something for you linked below. It is called the Soul Journey Assessment. It is not a test. It is not a program. It is simply the first honest conversation. It is the one where you get to answer the question Naomi never answered out loud on that road. Who are you right now? Not who you used to be, not who you are pretending to be. Who are you right now, honestly? Take it. The next season begins with that kind of honesty. Take that assessment. It's about 3 minutes. That's all it will take. And I want you to stay with me because Naomi's story has more to say, and so does yours. You are not who your losses say you are. You are who God named you before any of it happens. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video 2 of these series. Regardless of where you join in, if you're joining at 2 or 3 or number, you can go from the top and come down to the end because each one has a story that will speak to your heart and in the journey you are right now. God bless you.